It is Christmas, bar humbug, and we thought we'd bring you a self-sufficient in Suburbia edition based around what we do at Christmas. So welcome to Bar Humbug, self-sufficient in Suburbia. We are in our Quail house here on the allotment, and this is one of our 28 birds, one of our 28 quail. We keep them because they provide eggs, and we use some of those eggs to make our starter for our Christmas dinner, which was quail scotch eggs. Well, for starters for our Christmas dinner, we're going to be using our quail eggs, and we're going to turn these into mini scotch eggs. Now, we're not going to be using our sausage meat to make these scotch eggs. What we're going to do instead for the casing is make a vegetarian and also a vegan alternative. And the vegetarian alternative uses our ricotta cheese, and the vegan alternative uses some of the broad beans that we grew and picked in the summer. The first job to do is to boil and then simmer the beans until they're soft right through, and also to boil the eggs for about 2 minutes. Well, the beans are now cooked through, so we're going to add these to the food mixer, and then we're going to add in as well 1 chopped onion. The other onion there is for the ricotta cheese, and then we're going to add in 1 egg. That helps bind it all together. 2 cloves of garlic, a teaspoonful of curry powder, and a pinch, reasonably large pinch depending on taste, of cayenne pepper, and that is a very, very large pinch. And then finally we're going to give it a slug of olive oil, and then we're going to mix that lot up together. It's now ready. As you can see, it's a nice thick pulp or paste. The eggs are boiled, and we also have some breadcrumbs to go on the outer coating. So take the egg, some of the coating, and literally just wrap it in there so it's about the size of a golf ball, and then roll it in the breadcrumbs and make sure it's totally coated. So here we have the 8 scotch eggs made with the vegan coating, and before anybody writes to me via Facebook or via the blog or via YouTube, yes, I know it can't be a vegan food because it has eggs in. What I'm trying to say though is that we made a completely animal product free coating for the in that version of our recipe. So I know it can't be overall it can't be vegan because it's got eggs in. Right, now that they're done, next job is to make the coating with the ricotta cheese. We'll put the ricotta into the food mixer, and we're going to add in 1 chopped onion, and really that's it. We're not adding in anything else because the ricotta itself has a a great taste, and we really don't want to detract from that by adding too many other flavourings. Well, the coating's now ready, so again, in the same way as we did with the broad bean based coating, just get the egg and cover it with the coating, and then cover that with breadcrumbs, and there we go, that's one down, a few more to go. Scotch eggs have been chilling in the fridge overnight, and now we're going to cook them. Now there's two ways you can cook them. One is to do them in the oven, and that's the healthier way. We're going for the not so healthy way. We're going to fry them in fat, deep fat fryer here. So there we go, and we'll check them in about 3 or 4 minutes. Well, they've had about 3 minutes now, and they look rather well done. We've added some of our tomato and marrow chutney to this. So, well, this month has seen a bizarre range of weather. A couple of weeks ago we were under snow, and that lasted only a couple of days, and we have had huge amount of rain, record amount of rain, and we are under mud on the allotment here. We are plodding through it, but today it's a gloriously sunny day and the temperatures are up. In fact, behind us are 3 of our beehives, and the bees are out today. Not that there's much foraging for them at this time of year. This is a goose that a friend swapped with us a few weeks ago. He goes shooting and he arrived on our doorstep with two of these geese, and we paid for them with some of our jars of homemade jam, and we're having that goose today for dinner. But the first part of making this meal is to make the stuffing. In a large pan, melt 25 grams of butter and then add in 450 grams of chopped onions, and then leave these to sweat. After about 5 minutes, the onions should have sweated through, so at that point you need to add 450 grams of chopped apple, a small amount of fresh thyme, and the juice from 2 oranges, and then you need to let this lot cook until the apple has softened through. Now for this stuffing you also need some potatoes, and actually we're using our rooster potatoes. That just came out of the ground at lunchtime today, so really fresh. It's a very, very late crop that we've got. We boiled them up. We've kept the skins on because the skins are amongst the most nutritious part of the potato, and then we've mashed it all ready to be used in the stuffing. Well, the apple and onion has been cooking for about 10 minutes now, so we're just going to check it and see what state it's in. Well, it's softened through quite nicely, so we're going to take the heat off the pan. So I've taken the pan off the cooker now, and we're going to add in the mashed potato to the mix, and it's 900 grams of potato went into this, and we're also going to add in the zest of one orange and a bit of seasoning, and then we're going to mix all this up together and then let it cool. Whilst there's room on the cooker, we are boiling up the giblets with some rosemary, carrots and celery to make a stock for the gravy. Well, the stuffing has now cooled, so time to stuff the bird. And it needs to be stuffed but not absolutely packed full, so stuffed loosely. One final job to do before it goes into the oven is just to rub some salt and pepper into the skin. Ready for the oven. Now the oven's set to 180 degrees and it's a 3.5 kilo bird, so we're going to give it 2 hours, and after 2 hours we'll check to see whether it's ready. Well, now that the goose is in the oven, I think it's time to open a bottle of our homemade white wine that we made 2 years ago, and we actually bottled it a year and a half ago. Cheers. Well, we checked the goose at 2 hours and we pierced it with a skewer, and at that point it was still bleeding, so it wasn't ready. So we've given it another half hour. So what I'm going to do now is test it to see if it's still bleeding. See, so no blood coming out. This is where we tested it previously, and you can see the blood came out and coagulated, but nothing now coming out. So this is now ready. So here we have our roast goose dinner. Everything on the plate was either produced by us or was produced locally, and we swapped our produce for it. But we've got sprouts, applesauce, potatoes, goose obviously, carrots, parsnips, the full works. So here goes for the goose. Oh, lovely and tender. Much tenderer than I expected from a wild bird as well, so this has turned out really well. This is Pinky, our milking goat, and she's now producing less than a litre of milk a day, but nevertheless that milk still needs to be used up, and we turn it into cheese and into ricotta, and we use the ricotta to make cheesecake, and it's cheesecake that we made for our dessert for our Christmas meal. And we're going to leave Pinky enjoying the winter sun there and go back to the kitchen, and we're going to show you just how we made our cheesecake. To make a cheesecake, first of all you've got to start by making the base. Now here in Britain we would normally make a base from digestive biscuits, but we're going to be different today. This time we're going to be making it from ginger biscuits. So we have 200 grams here in the mixer, and this is where it gets noisy. Meanwhile, in a pan, melt 75 grams of butter and add in half a teaspoonful of ground cinnamon. Then add that to your biscuit crumbs and give it another whiz in the mixer. Then press the crumb mix into the bottom of your baking dish. There we go. This will now be chilled in the fridge for half an hour. Whilst we're waiting for the base to chill, we can make the filling, and we start with 800 grams of ricotta cheese. Now we make that from the milk that we get from Pinky, who's our milking goat. We'll also add in 150 grams of caster sugar, the juice from one orange and one lemon, and also the zest from that same orange and lemon. We're going to use 2 beaten eggs, and we're using a couple of our duck eggs for that. So that's beaten. And finally 4 tablespoonfuls of cream sherry. So all that in together, and we'll give that a bit of a mix. The base has been chilling for half an hour in the fridge now, so we're ready to put into it the filling. But before we do that, we're going to put a layer of sweet mince over the base, and this is sweet mince that we make ourselves. It contains a lot of soft fruit that's been pickled in gin and vodka. It's what we have left over when we make our fruit liqueurs, and there's other fruits in there as well, and we're just going to add a nice generous layer right over the bottom. So there we have one generous layer of sweet mince over the bottom. So all that's left to do now in terms of preparation is to pour in the cheese filling. Finally, put it in the oven at 160 degrees centigrade if it's a fan assisted, 180 if not, and cook it for 40 minutes. We checked it after 40 minutes, it wasn't quite ready, so what we've done is given it another 20 minutes, so it's had an hour in total in the oven. We're going to turn off the heat now and just leave the oven door ajar, and we're going to leave it in there for about 20 minutes. Well, the cheesecake's been chilling for a few hours in the fridge, so we're going to cut ourselves a piece now and see what it's like. It's Boxing Day and it is tipping down outside. We're actually in the Land Rover at the moment, but just because it's Boxing Day doesn't mean to say that work comes to a halt. And we are heading up to a local farm where we have had one of our 3 goats for the past 2 days, and she was up there to be mated because she was in heat. So it's time for her to come back home. There you go, there's a good girl. There you go. Right, say bye to your boyfriend. Billy the kid.
Does she swing?
Right, home now. This way. Come on. There you go, home now. Well, it's now Boxing Day evening, and it's that time at Christmas where you're just starting to use up the excessive quantity of, well, in our case, goose meat rather than turkey meat. And this is dinner tonight, so we're obviously having some of our goose. We're having that cold, but the stuffing that's made from the potato and apple, that's been fried, and we're having a sprout tops which have been cooked in a bit of butter. Now, people normally throw away the sprout tops, but actually they're great for eating, so we're having them. So obviously we've still got a bit of our homemade white wine to consume, so I'm having a glass of it with my dinner. Well, that's it for our self-sufficient Christmas feast, and indeed that's it for 2015. Join us in the new year when we hopefully will be sorting out our power supply so that we'll at least be going it partially off-grid. We'll hopefully be expanding the livestock that we've got. Our goats will hopefully be having kids, and we'll also be applying to the authorities to be able to sell our goat's cheese. So loads will be happening in 2016, so hopefully you'll continue to follow us then.